This evening, first, fury in Linden. Tensions erupt as angry protesters take to the streets following the fatal police shooting of a man. With one protester dead and calls for justice growing louder, what does newly released CCTV footage reveal, and how is the government responding? Plus, power to the people, literally and financially. President Irfaan Ali unveils a bold new initiative to let everyday Guyanese invest in national projects, from fertiliser plants to gas companies. How this plan could create wealth for thousands and reshape Guyana's economic growth. Also, a $422 million game changer. The government signs its largest power infrastructure deal ever, aimed at ending blackouts and powering new development. We break down what it means for your electricity bill and your business. Meanwhile, gold, diamonds, and dirty money. A Brazilian businessman is slapped with 5 money laundering charges after Soku uncovers a treasure trove in his Georgetown property. We have the details on the high-profile arrest and the investigation that led to it. And across the globe, tariff tension. The EU makes a last-ditch pitch for zero tariffs, but the US isn't backing down. As trade war escalates, could Guyana feel the ripple effects? Stay tuned. These stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for April 8, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, tensions flared in Linden today as angry residents blocked roads and lit fires in protest of the fatal police shooting of 26-year-old Ronaldo Peters, who was killed during an attempted arrest on Monday evening. The unrest led to the death of one protester, injuries to police officers, and the blockage of the Mackenzie-Wisma Bridge. In response, the Ministry of Home Affairs and President Irfaan Ali have appealed for calm and promised a thorough and impartial investigation into the incident.
I spoke to the commissioner after the news yesterday, and the commissioner has assured me that, one, all the legal steps in dealing with this matter will and must be followed. The police was under arrest. The Office of Professional Responsibility is undertaking their investigation, and I've asked him whatever external support, if any, is needed, that those external support is sought to ensure that all parties, all stakeholders are comfortable with the outcome of the investigation and the process of investigation. I want to say to the residents that we're going to ensure, with support, independent support, that this matter is dealt with professionally, and this should not be exploited politically. This is not a political issue. This is a serious issue. I think the police also issued a statement as to what were the circumstances surrounding the event and what led to the police seeking the individual. All of that will be also investigated. So there's a process. The process must be followed, and that process is what is ongoing.
Peters was shot by a police sergeant attached to the Wisma police station around 5:30 p.m. on Monday. Police said he was wanted for questioning in connection with an alleged rape involving a minor between the 1st of December 2024 and the 31st of January 2025. According to their account, Peters attempted to flee when officers arrived at Shaba Bar in 1 Mile Wisma. In the process of subduing him, the sergeant's weapon reportedly discharged, fatally wounding Peters in the abdomen. However, CCTV footage raises questions about the police's version of the event. The video shows Peters standing by the roadside with others when men in white t-shirts and black pants exited a heavily tinted minibus and pursued him. One officer is later seen dragging Peters by the neck to the vehicle. The shooting and apparent discrepancies sparked public outrage. The Ministry of Home Affairs confirmed the officer is under close arrest at the Tactical Services Unit, and the Office of Professional Responsibility has launched a formal investigation. President Ali said external independent support may be brought in if necessary to ensure transparency. He said the government is going to ensure with independent support that the matter is dealt with professionally. Meanwhile, opposition parties, including the PNCR and the AFC, have condemned the shooting and are demanding an independent probe. The Ministry of Home Affairs urged residents to remain peaceful and allow due process to unfold, warning that lawlessness could escalate tensions and endanger more lives. The investigation is ongoing, and Peter's body has been sent for a post-mortem examination. Headline News will bring further details as it becomes available. On a different note, President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has announced a bold new plan to allow ordinary Guyanese to co-invest in national projects as part of the government's drive for shared prosperity. Speaking at a public meeting in Region 3 on Sunday, President Ali said the initiative will open the door for citizens to create wealth through investment opportunities in small, medium, and large-scale ventures.
We're going to identify a series of small, medium, and large-scale projects here in Guyana. And we are going to co-invest from the government with Guyanese. We are going to allow you to invest your money here and in the diaspora in these projects that will give you much more returns than you're getting now.
The president said this investment is about generating wealth at the individual, household, community, regional, and national levels. He highlighted projects such as a fertilizer factory in Region 3 and the soon-to-be established National Gas Company as examples where Guyanese will be able to invest and benefit directly from the country's economic growth. The government also plans to support these efforts with financial literacy campaigns and grants to help citizens make informed investment decisions.
We're not going to depend on you to find a way. We are going to invest in financial literacy. We're going to educate the population by village, by street, by community. So as we increase the grants that will come to you, the 100,000 grant, as we increase it, you must see the importance of investing in.
Addressing the challenges faced by self-employed and informal workers, President Ali revealed that a national plan will be rolled out over the next 5 years to help them register with the National Insurance Scheme, giving them access to pensions and other social protections. This will include farmers, drivers, and other informal workers to get on the system. President Ali reaffirmed a vision for a modern, inclusive Guyana powered by world-class education, agriculture, infrastructure, healthcare, and digital services. Moving on, Sebastião D'Oliveira Moura, a Brazilian national and director of Gago Gold Incorporated, was on Monday charged with 5 counts of money laundering and granted $1.75 million bail. Moura appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Faith Augusti at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, where he was not required to plead to the indictable charge. The case was adjourned to April 22, 2025. According to the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCO, the charges stem from a year-long investigation into Moura's business activities. The probe began in February of 2024, following a joint operation involving SOCO, the Guyana Gold Board, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. During a search of Moura's premises at 19 Albert Street border, investigators found over $81 million in local currency, more than $6,000 worth of diamond, and over 4,000 pennyweights of gold valued at $112.5 million. Authorities believe the assets are proceeds of gold smuggling and other criminal activities. SOCO said Moura knowingly acquired or possessed these tainted properties in breach of Guyana's Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act. He was previously charged with failing to produce business records as required under the Guyana Gold Board Act. Stick around when we return. Health Minister joins Autism Awareness Walk, and government inks over $400 million deal to modernize the power grid and long-standing electricity woes.
Speak clearly with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. The government has signed a US $422.2 million in contracts to build new electrical transmission lines aimed at ending long-standing electricity supply issues across the country. The project, Ghana's largest investment in power infrastructure to date, was launched last Friday during a signing ceremony attended by Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, who hailed it as a transformative step toward a modern and reliable energy system.
Transmission, as you heard from the previous speakers, is the backbone of bringing the electricity, bringing the powers from where it is generated across huge or long distances to the homes. We promise that once and for all we will fix this whole electricity problem in Guyana. And in fixing the problem, we had to make decisions that are short term and decisions that are medium and long term. We were criticized for many of the decisions. But you know what? Today in Guyana, we have adequate electricity, more than the demand, as you heard from the previous speakers, right? And those short-term measures resulted in us being where we are today. The medium to long-term measures are still to come.
The project covers double-circuit transmission lines, along with 5 new substations at LBI, Enmore, Trafalgar, Williamsburg, and East Berbice. The existing Kingston station will also be upgraded. The entire initiative is expected to be completed within 1 year. Minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Deodat Indar, noted that the demand for electricity is rapidly increasing, especially in housing and industrial sectors, with nearly 14,000 new power connections issued in the past year alone. The new transmission lines will support the distribution of electricity from the New Wales Power Station to Goodfawactin and beyond, improving reliability for the 230,000 customers currently served by the Demerara-Berbice interconnected system.
This signing today is part of the design to improve the energy infrastructure. And what it means is that the plant that is being constructed at Wales, the power have to move from Wales into the rest of the country. One part of that power will come from Wales over the Demerara River, the Garden of Eden, into the backlands, and it will terminate at a location behind Eccles. They call it Goodfawactin.
Guyana Power and Light Chairman Maurice Gajadar commended the bold approach, saying the investment lays the foundation for a more resilient and modern energy grid. On a different note, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony joined participants on Sunday for an autism awareness walk at the National Park, Thomasland, where he underscored the need for early diagnosis, intervention, and inclusive support for individuals with autism. Despite morning rainfall, a substantial crowd turned out to advocate for increased awareness and services. In his remark, Minister Anthony acknowledged that autism remains an underserved area in Ghana's public health system and underlined efforts to develop national guidelines to improve care and early detection. He lauded the work of the local advocacy group, CIMAR Uniquely Me, calling their initiative a regional model for best practice. The minister also paid tribute to the late Dr. Hardat Prasad for his early support of autism-related programs, thanking the organization for preserving his legacy. Don't go away after the break. EU offers zero tariff deal to US, but prepares for trade war. And at least 18 dead in roof collapse at Dominican Republic nightclub.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things. What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In the Caribbean, at least 18 people died and over 120 were injured after the roof of Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, collapsed early Tuesday. Rescue teams are searching for survivors beneath the rubble. Among the dead is Monte Cristi Governor Nil C. Cruz, while merengue singer Ruby Perez was injured during his performance. President Luis Albinder visited the scene, pledging full support for rescue efforts. The cause of the collapse remains unknown. Meanwhile, in Africa, the small African kingdom of Lesotho has been hit with 50% U.S. tariff, the highest on the continent. Most of its population lives in poverty, and the tariffs are likely to worsen the situation. There's concern that the diamond industry, one of the country's major exports, will be significantly affected. Al Jazeera's Famida Miller reports.
At 3,000 meters above sea level, Letseng in Lesotho's Maluti Mountains is the highest diamond mine in the world. The diamonds found here are so rare, they make up less than 5% of those available on the market. But global economic instability and the production of synthetic diamonds as a cheaper alternative have been challenging. And now a 50% tariff by the United States on exports from Lesotho is likely to make things worse.
It is a worry. We are unsure at this stage.
Operations Director Gideon Skeepers fears the tariffs will have an impact on the supply chain.
Our concern is that what we export to Europe and what gets bought by international companies as cutters and polishers, they are the ones that will eventually export cut diamond for the jewelry trade into the American market. And the impact of the tariff will then be on the company and the origin from where those stones originate as cut diamonds.
As one of the world's poorest countries, Lesotho relies heavily on international sales of textiles and diamonds. The diamond mining industry has been vital in growing Lesotho's exports to bring in money. The United States is the largest consumer of luxury goods in the world, but with the newly imposed tariff, will American consumers pay more for these precious stones? High tariffs could mean lower demand and job losses. The mine employs 1,300 people, each of them supporting up to 12 family members.
Yes, I'm very much worried. One would worry about losing a job. Already we are struggling as the diamond mines.
US President Donald Trump says these are reciprocal tariffs, but Lesotho's government says taxes on goods imported from the US are not as high as claimed.
Lesotho is part of the Southern African Customs Union. And if you take the entire tariff book and do a little bit of mathematics, you'll find out that we are charging on average 7.5%.
Last year, the Letseng mine exported approximately $150 million worth of diamonds. The mines produced historical diamonds like the 910-carat Lesotho Legend and the 603-carat Lesotho Promise. Challenges like the newly imposed tariffs could determine just how beneficial these precious stones are to the people who mine them. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Mokotlong District, Lesotho.
In Europe, the EU has proposed a 0-for-0 tariff deal with the US to eliminate duties on industrial goods. This comes as a bid to ease tensions after Washington imposed tariffs on EU steel, aluminum, and cars. The EU is also preparing retaliatory tariffs starting April 15, targeting selected US products. Al Jazeera's Hashim Al-Bara reports.
EU trade ministers had to agree on the list of US products to hit with extra duties in response to Trump's tariffs. It wasn't going to be an easy task. The EU offered Trump a deal that would see cars and industrial goods traded with zero tariffs. It was a desperate attempt to prevent a trade war.
The current trade situation with the United States, our most significant partner, is in a tough spot. A range of tariffs is hitting a significant portion of EU exports. In fact, 380 billion euros worth of EU exports to the US. So we are talking here some 70% of our total exports are facing tariffs of 20% or 25% or even higher.
The EU will soon join China and Canada in imposing retaliatory tariffs. The first set of targeted countermeasures on $28 billion of US imports in retaliation for Trump's tariffs on European steel and aluminum. The EU remains divided over the scope of its response. The French want the EU to go further, but the Italians have urged Europe not to retaliate.
Ireland is very clear, as I believe are the overwhelming majority of European countries, that any actions we take must be taken with one agenda in mind, and that is to de-escalate, to get to a point of negotiation.
German Trade Minister Robert Habeck dismissed Trump's tariffs formula as flawed.
Even the basis of the calculation is nonsense. Yes, the assumption that a trade budget surplus or deficit is a problem in itself is a wrong estimation, because in the end globalization serves all economies, and especially the American economy has huge growth figures in GDP, better than a lot of European countries.
These are difficult times for Europe. The 27-nation bloc faces 25% import tariffs on steel, aluminum and cars, and reciprocal tariffs of 20% for almost all goods. If the tariffs remain, Europe's $585 billion exports to the US will hang by a thread. Stock markets in Europe tumbled on Monday, their worst fall since 2020. EU leaders fear the financial bloodbath could lead to global recession, and there's little they can do to solve things except hoping they can convince Trump on the mutual benefits of free trade and the risk of imposing protectionist measures. Hashim Al-Badr, Al Jazeera, Luxembourg.
Finally, US President Donald Trump's policies have created uncertainty about the decades-old transatlantic reliance. European nations are rethinking their security strategy and rebuilding their defense industries. However, questions remain about who will win the defense contracts and how governments can avoid costly duplications. Al Jazeera's defense editor Alex Gatapoulos reports.
The big announcements have been made, but now it's up to European governments, along with the large European defence giants, to turn money into weapons. Companies like Rheinmetall, Thales, BAE, Leonardo and Airbus will be expected to carry the load as Europe rearms. A long list of weapons and a clear plan is needed.
What assets might we need to replace, and therefore where should we put our priority investments? Do we need, for example, to compensate all of the things that the US contributes to NATO? We're talking 800 billion euros for that. Do we need to simply compensate certain things? As I mentioned, air and ballistic missile defence, communications, satellite reconnaissance. There we're talking 200 billion euros. So we need a coherent plan.
And European defence companies are already stepping up. International cooperation on large projects like the Eurofighter and transport aircraft has meant companies like Airbus can cherry-pick where best to make certain components and then assemble them. Behind me is a completed A400 military transport plane that's about to be tested before it's handed over to the German Air Force. That's a European concept. So the nose was built in France, the fuselage was manufactured in Germany, and the wings are from the UK, all assembled here in Spain. 21st century techniques are used to build advanced aircraft. Data from previous models is crunched by AI and applied to new designs. Large welding robots move around aircraft, riveting the giant pieces together with laser-guided precision. These techniques significantly speed up production, but can defense giants work together to avoid waste and doubling up on designs? The key may be unity.
It's true that cooperation requires more efforts than a single program run by a single company for a single country, and then potentially leading to export to other European countries or around the world. Cooperation is energy draining, but then once you're there, it's much more powerful, because you've got the power of all nations together, you've got the power and the sum of cultures of a set of different industrial players that is extremely powerful against a single nation, single culture, single player kind of product.
This is a boom time for the European defence sector. The question now is, will its manufacturing capacity be enough as Europe's defence giants scramble to fill the gaps? Alex Gatopoulos, Al Jazeera, Seville.
This brings us to the end of the regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's CCTV2 Headline News for this Tuesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.